The final round of the 2019 VW Racing Cup sees a head-to-head winner-takes-all battle between Owen Walton and Mark Wakefield. This is the last race. There are 2 points in it. Whoever finishes highest up the order, within reason between the two of them, will be crowned the 2019 champion. But with 46 points still available, Martin Depper, who starts third on the grid, is mathematically still in contention as well. Owen Walton has been drawn on pole position from the reversed grid. Away they go, but he's slow away, and Depper immediately finds the gap between the front row men and will, I think, take the lead into Redgate corner, but Walton is fighting back up the inside line, and Josh Coggan makes it 4 abreast into the first corner with 2 of the championship rivals involved as well. They come out in first and second places, with Walton just about a nose ahead of Martin Depper coming out of the first corner. Keep an eye to Mark Wakefield as well. He is a lot further down the order. Our race 1 winner is carrying 60 kilos of success ballast, but he is the man that really needs to try and get some points on Walton, and off goes Rob Allam into the gravel at the old hairpin. Can he dig his way out? I think he just about will do. For the second race in a row, though, we have a golf off at the Crane Curves on lap 1. It's still side by side for the race lead look, and Depper goes through, but Depper is a little bit further back in the championship hunt. He's 16 points off the championship lead, so he needs some bad luck to befall Owen Walton for him to take the title. I'm noticing as well that Mark Wakefield is right at the back of the field. He's third from last at the moment, so he either started from the back or the pit lane, or something strange happened. He was supposed to be 6th, but I think he was late to the grid and had to start from the pit lane. So that's real drama for Mark Wakefield then. The man who won the first race got to within 2 points of the championship leader, Owen Walton. But there you can see him coming towards us then, car number 18. With all of that weight on board, it's going to be mighty difficult for him to claw back all of those positions. There's a car off in front of him, though, which I think is Richard Gilbert, who was our first lap spinner in race number 1. May not have been Gilbert, but it was another white Golf anyway that should be able to rejoin. That might hand 1 position to Mark Wakefield, but it's 4 cars for the race lead at the moment there, with Martin Depper leading the way, Owen Walton second, third Rory Clark, and 4th position for Josh Coggan. Clark very nearly stole the victory away from Mark Wakefield in the previous race. He got up the inside of him at the last corner as Mark made a mistake, but Mark fended him off to the flag, and Rory was denied a race victory, but he'd very much like to get another one now. The trouble is the 2 drivers he has to overtake are both embroiled in this championship fight. If Martin Depper were to win the race, he'd get 44 points. Oh, and pulling off the road there, I think, is... Now, who is that? I can't quite see the number on that car. Whoever it is there, it might be Jack Depper, possibly, that's unfortunately, again, failed to make it round the opening lap. But yes, Depper then looking for the race victory. If he wins without fastest lap, it's 44 points. So that is a good points haul, but he'd need Walton well off the podium. At the moment, though, that looks like it's a possibility, because Rory Clark and Josh Coggan are really applying the pressure now to Owen Walton as they turn through McLean's, but the safety car is scrambled. That will be because we have this stricken car on the run up to the final turn, and so Owen Walton actually gets a bit of a chance to breathe now, as he was starting to come under all sorts of pressure there from the cars behind. So to finish my point then, we've got Martin Depper in the lead. If he wins the race and does not set the fastest lap, he gets 44 points. That'll put him on to 472 for Martin Depper. That means that Owen Walton needs to score 29 points to retain the championship, which means that he would have to be in the top 7, essentially. If he's in the top 7 and Depper wins, then Owen Walton is guaranteed, regardless. That's before we then start worrying too much about what's going on with Mark Wakefield. That's Simon Walton, by the way, Owen's dad, who's starting to lose a little bit of ground, and it's the 22 car then that stops. That's Mark Steele, unfortunately. It looks almost as if there's some damage to that car, so he might have had some contact on the opening few corners there. So the safety car then picks them up. Martin Depper leads the way, Owen Walton second, Rory Clark third, Josh Coggan fourth, Tony Prendergast is in 5th position, and Richard Gilbert into 6th, so it can't have been Gilbert that I saw in the gravel then at the chicane. Simon Walton down to 7th, 8th for Jeff Alden. Here's the start And look at this for a sight now. 4 of them, 4 abreast into the first corner. And it shows again the great variety of car, because we've got an Audi TT, a VW Scirocco, and a Golf, 3 abreast, and then another Scirocco for good measure on the outside. There was a bit of door leaning, but they did all get through safely. Not a good start at all for Walton, but that Audi has good top-end speed and good, therefore, acceleration too. So once he got the wheel spin under control, he was able to claw his way back alongside. Coggan arguably got the best start of anybody, but found himself 3 wide on the outside, and then technically 4 wide for a while. Prendergast got rather delayed in all of that as well. And there goes Mark Steele. So Steele was well inside the top 6 then, and then for some reason falls down the order later on. Side by side through basically the first half a lap for Owen Walton and Martin Depper, and there was Rob Allam spinning all on his own. So that was my next question, was he tangled up with Mark Steele? But the answer is no. Allam seemed to be in a self-inflicted half spin there down the Craner curves. So Mark Steele, whatever the issue is, he's out of the race. Thankfully, there is a back entrance there to the pit lane, so they should be able to get that car out of the way fairly swiftly. There's Mark Wakefield then, the number 18 car. So he is all the way down in 11th place. He must beat Owen Walton in this race in order to win the championship. And if they're anywhere inside the top sort of 10 or more, actually, if they're anywhere inside the top 16 or 17 actually, then there are 2-point increments between each position, so it would then tie them on points if he was even 1 place ahead of him. Trouble is that he's all the way down in 11th and Owen Walton is in 2nd, so he needs Owen to have some problems. Then even if that does happen, Martin Depper is in a position to potentially win the race. So Depper in the catbird seat in a way. Look at the absolute mess that they've made down at the chicane with all of that gravel, and you can see that it's not sand, that gravel. They are proper stones, which are not the best of things to be running over, but it's not going to get cleared up either because the lights are off on the safety car. We're going racing this time, and that could catch some people out when we get down there at racing speed in a couple of minutes' time. So that could be interesting, and Martin Depper would be the pioneer. He's the first one to arrive there and find out how little grip there may be. Depper, though, is now in control of the restart. He becomes the pace car. He can accelerate when he wants, and I think he's just done it now on the run up to Goddard's corner. The top 4 have gone, but unfortunately Tony Prendergast in 5th was not on his toes there and has lost quite a bit of time to the cars in front of him. Out across the start-finish line they go then. Depper leading the way. We've got fastest lap points to factor into all of this as well, and we haven't yet had a full green flag lap, so we'll see who can nab that. At the moment it's Richard Gilbert in 6th who has the fastest lap. That is, with respect, likely to change, you would imagine. Now what is Mark Wakefield doing then? He's stuck behind the Simon Walton train. Simon, not the quickest restart he's ever made, and I wonder how intentional that might have been. Wakefield is actually behind Rob Allam, who was in the gravel halfway around the first lap, so that shows how delayed Wakefield was at the start. He's going to try and get himself up the inside of Jeff Alden now, though, who has just been overtaken by Allam, and Wakefield will go through. These cars he should be able to get past fairly easily. The trouble is he's losing time hand over fist to the leaders. He's already 12.1 seconds behind Depper. That means he's about 11.7 seconds behind the man he really needs to beat, Owen Walton, and there's a lot of overtaking to be done before he can even think about challenging Owen Walton for position. So Wakefield needs a little bit of luck, I think, to fall his way. Depper is getting away out in front, and Owen Walton looking reasonably secure in 2nd position. And the good news for Owen Walton is that, as I said, he only needs to be somewhere in the top 6 or 7, and there's not much chance of him dropping out of the top 6 or 7 at this stage. The worst thing that could happen, really, is that he falls down to 4th position. But he can afford to let these two go, and that should still be okay for him. He's defending from Clark, though, as they descend the hill into the braking zone at the Melbourne hairpin. Rory Clark then round the outside line and into the final turn. He defends the inside from Clark and he fends him off again through Goddard. Meanwhile, you can see on the timing pillar on the left-hand side of our screen that Wakefield is into the top 10 now. He's got himself ahead of Jeff Alden, so that's worth 24 points. That's still 20 fewer than Depper, though, so at this stage Depper would move into 2nd place in the championship, but he won't really care too much about that. If he's 2nd or 3rd, that's much of a muchness, really. Depper wants to win the title, and for that to happen he needs this red and white Audi TT of Owen Walton to lose quite a few more places. Depper's doing everything he can, though. He's just set the fastest lap, a 1:43.161, which is about 8/10 slower than they went in race number 1. But Rory Clark there almost had a real impact in this championship battle because he almost got straight into the back of Owen Walton into the old hairpin. Owen is starting to fight a bit of a rearguard action here, and if they keep tripping each other up, there is the potential for other cars to start catching them. Oh, Jeff Alden is back ahead of Mark Wakefield now, but he's on the grass coming out of the old hairpin, so Wakefield will get another run up the hill. But that weight, I think, that 60 kilos on Wakefield's car is just really hampering him now. It's restricting his ability to make any further progress, and even having got past Alden a lap ago, unfortunately, or half a lap ago or so, unfortunately he's now dropped back down behind the slightly wounded number 19 car. There's a chunk missing from the front right corner. Goes to show what 60 kilos of success ballast will do for you, though. That car of Wakefield's was so quick in race one, particularly in the early stages. It just doesn't have that speed again in the second race. Back to the leaders then, or the second place battle, I should say, and Rory Clark up the inside of Owen Walton, and Josh Coggan surely will try and follow him through. Realistically, Walton doesn't really need to fight this too hard. He can kind of afford to let these two go through, but he is going to fight it, I think. And he needs to try and keep Coggan at bay, therefore, if he can, and I think he will. So Owen Walton stays in third, or drops down to third, but only loses the one position. So that means he'd be on 38 points, which is going to be 8 points fewer than Depper, so that's perfectly all right. He's 16 ahead of him. Through Redgate again, Josh Coggan, had a big go then at getting up the inside of Owen Walton and just understeered off the track. And so Coggan now will have to spend the next lap or so getting the dirt off his tyres, catching back up to Walton, and Walton in turn actually looks fairly pacey here. He's looking like he might have another go at getting back past Rory Clark, but the young Scottish driver now through the old hairpin starts to stretch away from him. Remember, Rory's car is quite a bit heavier than Walton. The top 6 finishers from each race carry success ballast into the next one. So Wakefield has 60 kilos on board. Rory Clark has 48 kilos on board that car. That's the second highest amount of success ballast, with Josh Coggan on 32 kilos, Martin Depper 24, and Jeff Alden in the barriers now. I'm hearing that Wakefield was already in front of him. That was the question I was about to ask. Was I do hope that Wakefield didn't hit him, but no, apparently he'd already made the move, and Jeff Alden had gone through, had gone off then. So Jeff Alden from 11th position off the road. Just to finish my thought about success ballast, the other two drivers carrying ballast are Tony Prendergast, number 5, who is in 5th place, carrying 16 kilos, and Owen Walton, as we know, having finished 6th, is carrying the least amount of success ballast that you can carry. But with 8 kilos on board, that means that he's still 24 kilos lighter than Coggan behind him, and even he's 40 kilos lighter than Rory Clark, but Clark did seem quicker than him, and is now starting to pull away. So we believe we've got some footage of what happened to Jeff Alden down at the old hairpin, which we'll bring you momentarily. There's Wakefield, though. Wakefield trying now to chase down Russell Joyce. That would be for 9th position then for Russell Joyce that he occupies at the moment. They head onto the pit straight. This is what happened there. So yes, Wakefield is already in front. Alden trying to come back at him, gets too much curve through the old hairpin, and rather than overcorrecting, he spins off to the right and bang into the barriers. Quite a big shunt, and he's not the first driver to have gone off there at that part of the circuit today, particularly in front-wheel drive cars. It seems like it's very easy to lose the rear through the old hairpin, which we know to be true because we've seen many an accident down there over the years. So here comes Josh Coggan then, continuing to threaten Owen Walton's 3rd place. Look at the way that Rory Clark has got away from these two now. Is Tony Prendergast catching them, though? That's the question. Well, on the previous lap, the answer is no. He was 7/10 slower than Owen Walton, but Owen might be about to lose 3rd place now to Josh Coggan, who's up the inside into Coppice Corner, and Owen Walton will hang tough around the outside. We know that the Audi's a bit quicker in a straight line, but Coggan's made the move stick anyway, and I think Walton's realised that, yes, it would have been nice to hang on to a podium place, but he doesn't need a podium place to take home the title. So Coggan in 3rd. Walton, though, with a good exit from the chicane, might be able to have another go down into the Melbourne hairpin. Significantly, Rory Clark, by the way, is faster than the leader and has just stolen the fastest lap points away from Martin Depper. He was only 3/10 quicker. In fact, he was exactly 3/10 quicker on the previous lap, but that was enough to steal the fastest lap away. So Depper, no longer on course for 46 points, would only score 44, which is how I worked it out before. So that will put him on to 4.72, and that means that Owen Walton should be okay with 4th position. If he finishes in 4th place, he gets 36 points to add to his 4.44 that he's on now, and that would mean he'd win the championship by 8 points. So he can afford to lose another 3 or 4 places if he needed to, Owen Walton, and that still would not be enough for Depper to win the title. If Depper can get the fastest lap back again, though, that might make a difference. Mark Wakefield, meanwhile, doing everything he can to get back into the fray, and he's gained one place at the expense of Russell Joyce, but someone was off there. Now, did that someone rejoin, or was it just Simon Walton in front of them? No, it must have been Rob Allen, because Rob Allen appears to have vanished, so that's actually 2 places gained for Wakefield, and there's Allen in the background, the blue and grey car, so that was... well, maybe an overtake under yellows, it could be argued, but he should get away with it because I think he committed to the move before the other car had gone off. So Mark Wakefield will actually move from 8th on your screen, or from 10th on your screen, into 8th position now. But he is still 17.9 off the lead. He's about 10 seconds behind Owen Walton. His previous lap was a 43.7. Walton's was a 46.2. So there's only 5 minutes and 20 seconds left, and I'm pretty certain that Owen Walton is just doing everything he needs to here. I think he could go quicker than he is, but right now Wakefield is going quickly enough to catch him, and he only needs to beat him by 1 position, or 2 to be absolutely sure of it. 1 would take it to a tie-break, and I don't know who's got the most race victories of the 2 of them. I can find that out for you, though, if it becomes necessary. But he has to catch him first, and that's not going to be easy to do. Rory Clark, though, looks as though he will catch Martin Depper. A 1:42.299 is the new fastest lap of the race for the second place man. That is now quicker than he went in race number 1, partly because he's got his whole car in one piece this time. Remember, in the early stages, he had a little bit of rear contact in race number 1, which did damage the rear bumper, and that no doubt was slowing him down a little bit. So now with a fully healthy car, he is showing us exactly what he can do. Rory Clark came up 1 position short of the race victory in race number 1, and he won't want the same thing to happen again, even if that means overtaking a championship contender in Martin Depper. But right now Depper just isn't doing enough, really. Walton, though, has been caught by Prendergast. Walton had another slow lap last time around, a 1:45.2. Prendergast, with a personal best of 43.9, is right with him. So it'd be nice to see that little battle if we dare take our eyes off the race leaders, because if Owen Walton continues to lose positions, all of a sudden this man Martin Depper, it becomes even more important for him to maintain the race lead. So there's the gap visually from 2nd to 3rd. So Coggan lost so much time stacked up behind Walton, but now it's Tony Prendergast filling the mirrors of the Audi. Down the exhibition straight they go. Prendergast to the outside line. He's not going to overtake here. He's going to try and focus on the exit speed from the corner. Add to this the fact that Martin Depper, I think, is on for a new fastest lap. He did a personal best first sector and outright fastest middle sector. So if Walton loses a place and Depper gets the fastest lap back, that's a 4-point gain for Depper. And Prendergast is going to try everything he can to get this 4th place away from Walton. He was just a touch too far back into the Melbourne hairpin, though. So Walton just, for whatever reason, doesn't have the pace here this weekend. And as I said earlier on, I remember this being the case back in June when we were last at Donington Park. The Audis just didn't seem to suit this circuit for whatever reason, though, even though in theory it should suit them. The leaders are nose to tail now, and it was not quite a fastest lap for Depper. He still came up about 7 tenths short, actually, so he'll have to go some to get those fastest lap points back. And actually now he's probably going to have to turn his attention to defence rather than all-out attack, as Rory Clark tries to get this race lead away from him. Owen Walton still in 4th place then, Wakefield in 8th, but he's now starting to lap quicker than almost everyone else on the track. Apart from these 2, he is the fastest man on the track, and Mark Wakefield is now only a second behind Simon Walton, and that means that he's a total of about 8 seconds behind Owen Walton. That's come down by about 3 seconds over the last couple of laps. The trouble is there will only be, I think, 1 more lap after this one. 2 minutes and 20 left on the clock, and they're lapping in the, well, the leaders, the mid to high 1:42s. So yeah, this will be the penultimate lap, I think. If there'd been 1 more lap, there might have actually been a chance for Wakefield to catch Owen Walton. That's not quite going to happen now, I don't think. Through the chicane comes Rory Clark, chasing down Martin Depper, and he's close enough now to force Depper to defend, which is frustrating for Martin because he was on another good lap here, a personal best in the first sector and another purple middle sector. But by defending into Melbourne, that will slow him down through the final sector, so it's unlikely that he'll be able to challenge for the fastest lap. And Martin Depper slows, all of a sudden coming out of the corner. Martin Depper, did he miss a gear, or is there a problem? Rory Clark has gone through. Depper at first appeared to be pulling over completely, but now has picked up the speed again, and Martin Depper then has just handed away the race lead to Rory Clark. Now, what is the problem for Depper then? That means that he'll only score 40 points, so this is pretty much taking him out of the championship equation altogether. He really had to win the race. They go on to the final lap then. Here comes Owen Walton, still just about with Tony Prendergast behind him, but there is Mark Wakefield, look, right behind Simon Walton, who I'm sure will make that the widest Audi TT on the planet, but Wakefield has found some real speed, and what a shame we had that early problem for him that saw him start from the pit lane or start from the back of the grid, whatever it was. He's going to get a run on Simon Walton here, but I don't think he's going to be able to get through quickly enough to then be able to go up the road and chase after Owen. But it's been a mighty drive this from Wakefield from the back of the field. He's already into 7th place. He might have a go into the old hairpin, but Simon Walton covers that one, locks up and runs wide though, and that's going to make it fairly easy, I think, for the 18 car to go through. So Wakefield into 6th position. That's tantalising, only 2 places lower than he needs to be, as Martin Depper's having another go at getting past Rory Clark. They were side by side there through Coppice Corner, and somehow Depper was on the outside line, so I don't know whether he'd already been through. Yeah, we're hearing he had gone through at McLean's, but then Rory Clark got him straight back at the next corner. 2 more corners to go, and they're the 2 best overtaking opportunities on the circuit. Martin Depper then right on the rear bumper of Rory Clark, who will have to drive so defensively through the last couple of corners in order to fend off the number 30 machine, which looks as though it may possibly have to settle for 3rd in the championship now, unfortunately. If he wins the race, that might change, but it's going to be very tight indeed. Up the hill they go, and Depper again not particularly quick off the corner, and so Rory Clark is going, I think, to finally get that race victory that he so nearly took in race number 1. This time around though, he is the one defending on the last lap, and he successfully defends on the last lap to take the victory. Martin Depper will come home in 2nd. Josh Coggan should be 3rd, but then who will be 3rd? Well, there's Coggan. I think he's just been off at the last corner possibly. There's Mark Wakefield, and there's suddenly no sign of Simon Walton, so did he go off the road altogether at the old hairpin? I'm not too sure. Wakefield comes through there, but Owen Walton has come home in 4th position, and that, by my reckoning, should be enough for the title then. Owen Walton in 4th position will score 36 points, moving him on to 480 points. Depper ends up on 468, and Mark Wakefield, we know, had to beat him anyway. So yeah, that does mean that provisionally, subject to any post-race penalties, etc., etc., Owen Walton is your 2019 VW Racing Cup champion. Now, who gets 2nd? That was the other question, wasn't it? Because Wakefield ended up in 6th, so he scores 32 points. So he ends up on 474, so he will just about hang on to 2nd place. It will be a 6-point championship winning margin for Owen Walton, so you can see why I was getting excited there, because if he'd have lost another place, then Wakefield would potentially have had a chance to beat him, but it wasn't to be, and it is Owen Walton that takes it. Had Wakefield not started from the back of the grid, it could have been oh so different, but Owen Walton, the number 91 car, despite not having the ultimate pace this weekend and not troubling the podium in either race, is still going to leave Donington Park as the title winner, and that will all just be starting to soak in now for Walton Jr. and Walton Sr. coming up to congratulate him, I think, in the background after his last lap antics that saw Simon drop a long way back. He was nearly 5 seconds behind Mark Wakefield by the flag, despite only losing that position halfway round the lap. And this will be a nice moment. Simon Walton pulling up alongside his son. Simon, unfortunately, wasn't able to fight for the championship this year after a couple of accidents earlier on this season took him out of contention, but he pulls in behind Owen Walton and the 2 Audi TTs that are allowed to compete in the championship because they are Audi is underneath the VAG banner, so any Volkswagen, Audi, Seat, Skoda would be allowed to race in the VW Racing Cup, and it is an Audi that, for the first time, I believe, has won the championship. It didn't quite happen last year, but this season, Owen Walton has been able to take the Audi TT to the top of the points table when it counts at the end of the season. So confirmation then of those race results, and it is Rory Clark, excuse me, that takes the race victory. Martin Depper, in the end, has to settle for 2nd position, and Josh Coggan in 3rd. Owen Walton is 4th, with Tony Prendergast 5th and Mark Wakefield rounding out the top 6. What a drive that was from the back of the grid. In the end, only about 5 seconds behind his big rival. Simon Walton was 7th, Richard Gilbert was 8th, with Russell Joyce and Rob Allen in the back of the top 10. Then it was Jeff Clark in 11th position. 12th position went the way of Michael Jones. 13th for Jeff Alden. No, he was a non-finisher, so only 12 finishers. Alden, Matthew Evans, Jack Depper and Mark Steele all failing to finish, unfortunately. And for Jack Depper in particular. That's his second non-finish of the day. Well, a thoroughly entertaining championship battle there for the VW Racing Cup, and they will be back to entertain us again next year. It was announced earlier on this season that they're going to be back on the British GT package for selected rounds in 2020, along with our various Ginetta championships as well. We'll be welcoming a couple of new support categories in the Renault UK Clio Cup, and Porsche bringing a one-make GT4 Cayman championship to the British GT package next year as well. So a mix of old and new for next season's British GT race meetings, but the VWs will be a very popular inclusion, I think, next year. And this is why, because they produce this sort of racing time and time again. 4 abreast into the first quarter at the start of the race, with Owen Walton trying to hang on from pole position. Martin Depper, Josh Coggan and Tony Prendergast trying to defeat him in the battle to get to turn 1 first. Martin Depper got the closest, but had to settle in behind into second place in the early stages, whilst Rob Allam had a spectacular slide off into the gravel trap at the Craner Curves, dropping him right to the back of the field. Mark Steele sadly pulled off the road at the end of the opening lap, so the safety car was scrambled, after which Martin Depper tried to make good his escape, and he was able to do so for a while as Owen Walton tried to fend off Rory Clark and Josh Coggan. Clark eventually found a way through down at the Melbourne hairpin and then set off after the race leader Martin Depper. Owen Walton tried to stay with him, but eventually had to watch his mirrors because Josh Coggan was keen to get past and would eventually move through into third place. Jeff Alden had just lost a position to Mark Wakefield for the second time when he slid off into the barriers at the exit of the old hairpin. Martin Depper, though, was being caught out in front. Rory Clark was chasing him down, and then mysteriously, towards the end of the race, Depper slowed out of the Melbourne hairpin. The car instantly seemed to pick up and didn't really seem to trouble him for the rest of the race, but it cost him the race lead. Simon Walton slipped wide at the old hairpin, allowing Mark Wakefield through into a 6th place. He would hold to the flag, but it was Rory Clark that came home to take the victory, a second in race 1 and a win in race 2. A brilliant day's work for him, but Owen Walton is your 2019 champion. Well, I think Owen is quite happy with that. And that is a proper champion celebration. And his dad is straight over there to congratulate him as well. And Owen and Simon Walton, I'm sure the celebrations at the Walton family will go on long into the evening here at Donington Park. Fantastic achievement, and it's nice to see that family affair. And we had a lovely moment at Brands Hatch, I seem to remember, earlier on in the year, where we had the pair of Waltons on the podium and also the pair of Deppers, because Jack Depper, Martin Depper's son, racing in the championship. He's not had a good day today with 2 non-finishes, but he earned himself an award at Brands Hatch and got to join the other 3 on the podium. It was a great moment. And yeah, that's a very special moment, I'm sure, for the Walton family, who've been in this championship for a while now. They've been plugging away with these Audis, which when they came into the championship were instantly on the pace, but troublesome. They used to really struggle with mechanical problems in those Audi TTs, but they've gradually sort of got to grips with that, and now that they've got the mechanical issues under control, they have turned into the one of the cars to beat, really. So drivers, I think, eventually have finished celebrating. You can't blame them for celebrating for a little bit longer than usual, and they're now ready for the podium. And in third position, it will be Josh Coggan, who is on the podium. Martin Depper, never change, Martin. He's always been a huge character. He came up just short in the championship this year, but hopefully they'll both be back in 2020 to thrill us again. And then it will be the race victory for Rory Clark. And so, in the end, our eventual champion, Owen Walton, not on the podium. But he will, I'm sure, get to go up there and enjoy himself as well. And there he is, Owen Walton, the champion, Owen Walton, heads up onto the podium then. And Owen, with a smile on his face, it's starting to sink in. I hope they've got a bottle of bubbly for him. Oh no, they haven't. They're going to leave him up there defenceless against 4 drivers who have got bubbly. You can see where this is going, can't you? Yes, oh, he's looking around thinking, oh, well, thanks, guys. And has no choice but to stand there and take it. But you know what? I don't think he minds. That's not a bad way to celebrate winning your first championship, and we'll now wait and see with interest what Owen decides to do next year. It'd be nice if he stuck around to try and defend it, but I'm sure he'll be keen to try and use this as a stepping stone to other things. The VW Racing Cup is a very, very good and a valuable step on the tin top racing ladder. And Owen, we may see cropping up further up that tin top ladder later this year. Well, great racing this weekend, as all year for the VWs. More of the same next year.